Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Sean. Good morning, Camille. Good morning. Who else is here? Good morning, Fergus. Good morning, Leon. Good morning, Maisie and Gloria and Kate. Good morning, Noemi. Good morning, Daniel. Good morning, Athena. Good morning, Lillian. Good morning, Gracie. Good morning, Finley. Just a quick reminder to those children on YouTube and actually on anything, this isn't an opportunity to have a chat. I know that it's lovely that you're all happy to see each other, but remember, it's not an opportunity for a chat because we are still learning, okay? Good morning, Romy. This is the chapter book. This is the chapter book one, but you are all welcome. Good morning, Ava and Jack. Good morning, Petra. I think I saw Petra. Good morning, Camille. Camille, remember, sensible, and we're not having chats on YouTube. Only when I ask questions, I'd like feedback, please. Good morning, Fatima. I'm not sure who that is, so just let me know who that is saying good morning. Good morning. Nice to see you, Romy. Aoife. Good morning, Aoife. Good morning, Harry. Right, 2 more minutes and then we'll begin. I think I've said good morning to lots of people. Good morning, Ava and Oscar. Well done. We've got lots of people joining us this morning. And you can see my phonics board from this morning. Morning, Sean. Nice to see you here. I don't think I've seen you on before, so I'm glad that you've joined us today. Yes, ready for the peach. James and the Giant Peach. I feel very excited about our lesson today. I've got a really cool task for you. Good morning, James and William. I've got a really cool task for you this morning, and it's going to be over 2 days. So rather than us rushing our task, it's going to be kind of a 2-day thing. We're going to plan it today, and then tomorrow you're going to be able to write it, okay? So we're going to take it nice and slow and enjoy, okay? Good morning, Dan. Oh, Dan, you're watching too, superstar. That's so... Kate, I am your teacher. Oh, Maisie and Gloria. I thought Kate was saying that. I was saying, Kate, I am your teacher. She's saying she wishes I was her teacher. Okay, should we get started? Let's start with a poem for today. Let me look for a nice poem for us to start with today. Remember, it's nice to read a poem a day. I don't think you're ready for homework yet. Okay, this is A Spell for Sleeping by Alistair Reid. Sweet William, silverweed Sally my handsome, dimity darkens the pittering water, on gloomed lawns wanders a king's daughter. Curtains are clouding the casement windows, a moon glade smurs the lake with light, doves cover the tower with quiet. 3 owls wit in the withies, 7 fish in a deep pool shimmer. The princess moves to the spiral stair. Slowly the sickle moon mounts up, frogs hump under moss and mushroom. The princess climbs to her highest hush room. Step by step to her shadowed tower, water laps the white lake shore, and ghosts open the princess door. 7 fish in the sway of the water, 6 candles for a king's daughter, 5 sighs for a drooping head, 4 ghosts to gentle her bed. 3 owls in the dusk falling, 2 tales to be telling, 1 spell for sleeping. Tamarisk, trefoil, tormentil, sleep rolls down the clouded hill, a princess's dreams of a silver pool. The moonlight spreads the soft ferns flitter, stilled in a shimmering drift of water. 7 fish dream of a lost king's daughter. And that was A Spell for Sleeping. Super. I love that you love poems. Well done. Okay, so we're going to begin. What happened yesterday? What happened yesterday in James and the Giant Peach? Very amazing things happened. Who can tell me quickly? Let's see who can tell me very quickly what happened yesterday. Guys, thank you for the request, but I can't. I'm not going to have any children in the videos just in case other parents don't want them to see children. I will take requests from other teachers though, but not children yet. The ants got squashed. Well done. They have. Good morning, Rose and Belle. The ants got squished. They got squashed by the rolling peach. So the peach has now become detached from the tree and is now rolling down. And I wonder what's going to happen next. Okay, this next bit is absolutely fantastic because we see so many things happen. So let's start. We're on chapter 16. Yeah, James went away with the peach. James got away. Fantastic. They broke the branch. Yeah, they broke the branch. Right, off we go. Chapter 16. And now the peach had broken out of the garden and was over the edge of the hill, rolling and bouncing down the steep slope at a terrific pace. Faster and faster and faster it went, and the crowds of people who were climbing up the hill suddenly caught sight of this terrible monster plunging down upon them, and they screamed and scattered to right and left as it went hurling by. Really listen to this bit because this is what our task is going to be on. Sean, I'm glad you're enjoying it. At the bottom of the hill, it charged across the road, knocking over a telegraph pole and flattening two parked cars as it went by. You might even want to take note of some of the things that happen because that's what our task is going to be today. You'll see afterwards. So you might even want to take notes of some of the things that happen in this chapter. Then it rushed madly across about 20 fields, breaking down all the fences and hedges in its path. It went right through the middle of a herd of fine Jersey cows, and then through a flock of sheep, and then through a paddock full of horses, and then through a yard full of pigs, and soon the whole countryside was a seething mass of panic-stricken animals, stampeding in all directions. The peach was still going at a tremendous speed, with no sign of slowing down, and about a mile further on it came to a village. Down the main streets of the village it rolled, with people leaping frantically out of its path, right and left, and at the end of the street it went crashing right through the wall of an enormous building and out the other side, leaving two gaping round holes in the brickwork. This building happened to be a famous factory where they made chocolates, and almost at once a great river of warm, melted chocolate came pouring out of the holes in the factory wall. A minute later, the brown, sticky mess was flowing through every street in the village, oozing under the doors of houses and into people's shops and gardens. Children were wading in it up to their knees, and some were even trying to swim in it, and all of them were sucking it into their mouths in great greedy gulps and shrieking with joy. But the peach rushed on across the countryside, on and on, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Cowshed, stables, pigsties, barns, bungalows, hayricks, anything that got in its way went toppling over like a ninepin. An old man sitting quietly beside a stream had had a fishing rod whisked out of his hands as it went dashing by, and a woman called Daisy Entwistle was standing so close to it past that she had the skin of the tip of her nose, her long nose. Would it ever stop? Why should it? A round object will always keep on rolling as long as it's on a downhill slope, and in this case, the land sloped downhill all the way until it reached the ocean. The same ocean that James had begged his aunts to be allowed to visit the day before. Well, perhaps he was going to visit it now. The peach was rushing closer and closer to it every second, and closer also to the towering white cliffs that came first. These cliffs are the most famous in the whole of England, and they are hundreds of feet high. Below them, the sea is deep and cold and hungry. Many ships had been swallowed up and lost forever on this part of the coast, and all the men who were in them as well. The peach was now only 100 yards away from the cliff. now 50, now 20, now 10, now 5, and when it reached the edge of the cliff, it seemed to leap up into the sky and hang there suspended for a few seconds, still turning over and over in the air. Then it began to fall. Down, 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 smack! It hit the water with a colossal splash and sank like a stone. But a few seconds later, up it came again, and this time up it stayed, floating serenely up the surface of the water. And there's the peach dropping down, down, down. I'm glad you like this story, Camille. Well done. Lots of lovely comments. Chapter 17. So today's task is going to be mainly about chapter 16, but let's carry on reading. At this moment, the scene inside the peach itself was one of indescribable chaos. James Henry Trotter was lying bruised and battered on the floor of the room amongst a tangled mass of centipede and earthworm and spider and ladybird and glowworm and old green grasshopper. In the whole history of the world, no travellers had ever had a more terrible journey than these unfortunate creatures. It had started out well, with much laughing and shouting for the first few seconds as the peach had begun to roll slowly forward. Nobody had minded being tumbled about a bit. And when it went bump and the centipede had shouted, that was Aunt Sponge. And then bump again, and that was Aunt Spiker. There had been a tremendous burst of cheering all around. But as soon as the peach rolled out of the garden and began to go down the steep hill, rushing and plunging and bounding madly downwards, then the whole thing became a nightmare. James found himself being flung up against the ceiling, then back onto the floor, then sideways against the wall. Your reactions are funny. Then up to the ceiling again, and up and down, and back and forth, and round, and at the same time all the other creatures were flying through the air in every direction, and so were the chairs and the sofa, not to mention the 42 boots belonging to Centipede. Everything and all of them were being rattled around like peas inside an enormous rattle that was being rattled by a mad giant who refused to stop. To make it worse, something went wrong with the glowworm's lighting system, and the room was in pitchy darkness. There were screams and yells and curses and cries of pain, and everything kept going round and round, and once James made a frantic grab at some thick bar sticking out from the wall, only to find that they were a couple of centipede's legs. "Let go, you idiot!" shouted the centipede, kicking himself free, and James was promptly flung across the room into the old green grasshopper's horny lap. Twice he got tangled up in Miss Spider's legs, a horrid business, and towards the end, the poor earthworm, who was cracking himself like a whip every time he flew through the air from one side of the room to the other, caught himself around James's body in a panic and refused to unwind. Oh, it was a frantic and terrible trip, but it was all over now, and the room was suddenly very still and quiet. Everybody was beginning slowly and painfully to disentangle himself from everybody else. "Let's have some light," shouted the centipede. So I love the way chapter 16 gave the people watching the peach, so all the people in the town watching the peach, it kind of gave that point of view, and now this chapter has given the insect's point of view, so what was happening inside the peach. I really like that. Flying insects, exactly that, James. "Yes," they cried. "Light, give us some light." "I'm trying," answered the poor glowworm. "I'm doing my best. Please be patient." They all waited in silence. Then a faint greenish light began to glimmer out of the glowworm's tail, and this gradually became stronger and stronger until it was anyway enough to see by. "Some great journey," the centipede said, limping across the room. "I shall never be the same again," murmured the earthworm. "Nor I," the ladybird said. "It's taken years off my life." "But my dear friends," cried the old green grasshopper, trying to be cheerful, "we are there." "Where?" they asked. "Where is there?" "I don't know," the old green grasshopper said, "but I'll bet it's somewhere good." "We are probably at the bottom of a coal mine," the earthworm said gloomily. "We certainly went down and down and down very suddenly at the last minute. I felt it in my stomach. I still feel it." Perhaps we are in the middle of a beautiful country full of songs and music, the old green grasshopper said. Or near the seashore, said James eagerly, with lots of other children down on the sand for me to play with. Pardon me, murmured the ladybird, turning a trifle pale, but am I wrong in thinking that we seem to be bobbing up and down? Bobbing up and down, they cried. What on earth do you mean? You're still giddy from the journey, the old green grasshopper told her. You'll get over it in a minute. Is everybody ready to go upstairs now and take a look around? Yes, yes, they chorused. Come on, let's go. I refuse to show myself out of doors in my bare feet, the centipede said. I have to get my boots on first. For heaven's sake, let's not go through all that nonsense again, the earthworm said. So they did, all except Miss Spider, who set about weaving a long rope ladder that would reach from the floor up to the hole in the ceiling. The old green grasshopper had wisely said that they must not risk going out of the side entrance when they didn't know where they were, but must first of all go up onto the top of the beach and have a look around. Hi, Charlotte, you're watching. So half an hour later, when the rope ladder had been finished and hung, and the 40-second boot had been laced neatly on the centipede's 40-second foot, they were all ready to go out. Amidst mounting excitement and shouts of, Here we go, boys! The promised land! I can't wait to see it! The whole company climbed up the ladder one by one and disappeared into a dark, soggy tunnel in the ceiling that went steeply, almost vertically upwards. Let's see, should we read? Yeah, let's read 18. We're going to read 3 chapters every day. A minute later, they were out in the open, standing on the very top of the peach, near the stem, blinking their eyes in strong sunlight and peering nervously around. What happened? Where are we? But this is impossible, unbelievable, terrible. I told you you were bobbing up and down, the ladybird said. We're in the middle of the sea, cried James, and indeed they were. A strong current and a high wind had carried the peach so quickly away from the shore that already the land was out of sight. All around them lay the vast black ocean, deep and hungry. Little waves were bibbling against the side of the peach. But how did it happen, they cried. Where are the fields? Where are the woods? Where is England? Nobody, not even James, could understand how in the world a thing like this could have come about. Ladies and gentlemen, the old green grasshopper said, trying very hard to keep the fear and disappointment out of his voice. I'm afraid that we have found ourselves in a rather awkward situation. Awkward, cried the earthworm. My dear old grasshopper, we are finished. Every one of us is about to perish. I may be blind, you know, but that much I can see quite clearly. Off with my boots, shouted the centipede. I cannot swim with my boots on. I can't swim at all, cried the ladybird. Nor can I, wailed the glowworm. I can't swim at all. Nor I, said Miss Spider. None of us 3 girls can swim in a single stroke. But you won't have to swim, said James calmly. We are floating beautifully, and sooner or later a ship is bound to come along and pick us up. They all stared at him in amazement. Are you quite sure that we're not sinking? The ladybirds asked. Of course I'm sure, answered James. Go and look for yourself. They all ran over to the side of the peach and peered down at the water below. The boy is quite right, the old green grasshopper said. We are floating beautifully. Now, we must all sit down and keep perfectly calm. Everything will be all right in the end. What absolute nonsense, cried the earthworm. Nothing is ever right in the end, and well, you know it. Poor earthworm, the ladybird said, whispering in James's ear. He loves to make everything into a disaster. He hates to be happy. He is only happy when he is gloomy. Now, isn't that odd? But then, I suppose just being an earthworm is enough to make a person pretty gloomy. Don't you agree? If this peach is not going to sink, the earthworm was saying, and if we are not going to be drowned, then everyone of us is going to starve to death instead. You do realise that we haven't had a thing to eat since yesterday morning? By golly, he's right, cried the centipede. For once, Earthworm is right. Of course I'm right, the earthworm said. And we're not likely to find anything around here either. We shall get thinner and thinner and thirstier, and we shall all die a slow and grisly death from starvation. I'm dying already. I'm slowly shriveling up for want of food. Personally, I would rather drown. But good heavens, you must be blind, said James. You know very well I'm blind, snapped the earthworm. There's no need to rub it in. I didn't mean that, said James quickly. I'm sorry, but can't you see that? See, shouted the poor earthworm. How can I see if I'm blind? James took a deep breath, slow breath. Can't you realize, he said patiently, we have enough food here to last us for weeks and weeks. What's he talking about? Why have they got enough food to last us a week? Last them a week? Fantastic, Kate, because they live on a peach or in a peach. They've got the peach. Where, they said, where? Why the peach, of course. Our whole ship is made of food. Jumping Jehoshaphat, they cried. We never thought of that. My dear James, said the old green grasshopper, laying a front leg affectionately on James's shoulder. I don't know what we'd do without you. So clever, ladies and gentlemen. We are saved again. We are most certainly not, said the earthworm. You must be crazy. You can't eat the ship. It's the only thing that is keeping us up. We shall starve if we don't, said the centipede, and we shall drown if we do, cried the earthworm. Oh dear, said the old green grasshopper. Now we're worse off than before. Couldn't we just eat a little bit of it? Asked Miss Spider. I'm so dreadfully hungry. Well done, Charlotte. Yep, they can eat the peach. You can eat all you want, James answered. It would take us weeks and weeks to make any sort of dent in this enormous peach. Surely you can see that. Good heavens, he's right, cried the old green grasshopper, clapping his hands. It would take weeks and weeks. Of course it would. But let's not go making a lot of holes over the deck. I think we'd better simply scoop it out of the tunnel over there. And then the one that we've just come up by. An excellent idea, said the ladybird. What are you looking so worried about, earthworm? The centipede asked. What's the problem? The problem is, the earthworm said, the problem is that there is no problem. Everyone burst out laughing. Cheer up, earthworm, they said. Come and eat. And they all went over to the tunnel entrance and began scooping out great chunks of juicy, golden-coloured peach flesh. Oh, marvellous, said the centipede, stuffing it into his mouth. Delicious, said the old green grasshopper. Just fabulous, said the glowworm. Oh my, said the ladybird primly. What a heavenly taste. She looked up at James and she smiled, and James smiled back at her. They sat down on the deck together, both of them chewing away happily. You know, James, the ladybird said, up until this moment, I have never in my life tasted anything except those tiny little green flies that live on rose bushes. They have a perfectly delightful flavour, but this peach is even better. Isn't it glorious, Miss Spider said, coming over to join them. Percy, I had always thought that a big, juicy, cotton-ware blue bottle was the finest dinner in the whole world, until I tasted this. Guys, if you're listening to the story and you're paying attention to the story, you wouldn't even notice what people are typing in the chat. So I would worry more about the story than anything else. Thank you. Isn't it glorious, Miss Spider said, coming over to join them. Percy, I had always thought that a big, juicy, caught-in-the-web blue bottle was the finest dinner in the world, until I tasted this. What a flavour, the centipede cried. It's terrific. There's nothing like it. There never has been, and I should know because I, Percy, have tasted all the finest foods in the world. Whereupon the centipede, with his mouth full of peach and with juice running down all over his chin, suddenly burst into song. Okay, and I'm going to stop there, and we're going to read the song tomorrow. Okay. And I'm just going to say very quickly, and it's a shame that I have to do this, boys, I will take off, if you can't be sensible on the chat, then I will take off the chat for tomorrow. And then that means that the people on YouTube can't join into when I'm doing the lesson, and they can't give their ideas. So, Fergus, I would just ignore the chat, and I would focus on the lesson rather than anything else. Thank you. Okay, if people want to send emojis and they are appropriate, they can send emojis if they want. Thank you. Sorry, children on Instagram. It's just some children on YouTube are being a little bit silly. Right. And that's the life of a teacher. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is, if you missed the beginning of the story time, then I would go back after this and play it over, because we are going to, drumroll please, we're going to be writing a newspaper article about that huge peach rolling past the town, okay, and all the destruction that it caused. And it might not even be a bad newspaper report, it might be a good one about the chocolate river flowing through and people enjoying the chocolate river. Okay, yeah. So what we're going to do today, thank you, James, for your apology, but that's fine. You can have emojis if you want. You can put up emojis if you want, because you're enjoying the story and you're excited, and that's absolutely fine. Okay, right. So what we're going to do first is we're going to think of features of a newspaper. Okay, so I'm going to give you 1 minute to have a little think of all the features of a newspaper. So what is going to be in our newspaper? 1 minute. And then you can start sharing them. Think about what are the features of a newspaper. And we did this recently in year 5. And if you're in year 3 or year 4, and I'm sure year 6 you've done it before, you can still have a go too. Okay? So what's the first thing? The first thing is a headline. So it's like the title. How many words max for a headline? How many words max for a headline? Who can tell me? Right, calm down, don't type too much, because I'm not going to be able to keep up with all of those. 5 words, remember? 5 words max. To make it nice and snappy and to really grab the reader's attention. So 5 words max for your headline, okay? Right, 4 or 5, well done. Right, what's going to be next? Yeah, some subtitles. So you might have some subtitles. So underneath that heading, you'll have a subtitle, which will then give a little bit more information. Okay, well done, fantastic. Now, in the actual text, what do we need to have in the actual text? What kind of writing do we have in the actual text? Well done, superstar, Charlotte, paragraphs. If anyone else has said that, sorry, I haven't seen it. Please bear with me. But well done, everyone, for joining in. So we need subtitles. We need some sort of picture. What do we have under the picture? A caption. So just explaining what the picture is. Well done. What else? I saw Ava said something. Ava said something earlier. She said, are we going to make it up? Is it made up? Nope. It has to have, Ava said it before, she said facts. It needs to be facts, things that actually happened. So within it, you're writing things that happened, okay? Well done, Emily. Well done, Belle. Well done, all of you. Well done, Noemi, James, all of you. Fantastic. Well done, Camille. So we need facts. What else might we have? There's something else that we might have. What else might we include? Think about who saw it. What do we call that? What do we call when we speak to someone who saw it? Oh, my battery's running out. Fantastic, Fatima. An eyewitness. Eyewitness account. And who can remember what kind of speech that is? There's 2 types of speech that you might have from an eyewitness account. There's 2 types of speech. Who can remember? If you're in year 3 or 4, we're going to tell you now. We're going to teach you now. So when you have an eyewitness report, which means it's someone who saw it happen, is talking, and you're interviewing them, there's 2 types of speech that you might have them say. you're either going to say direct speech. So you say what they said and you put it in inverted commas. Well done. So I'm going to put that in inverted commas. Or you have, what's the other one called? Reported speech. Fantastic, Ava and Oscar. Direct speech or reported speech? So let me give you an example of direct speech. We spoke to, I'm going to use, Ava, you said an answer, so I'm going to use you. We spoke to Ava, a local shopkeeper who saw the whole thing happen. And she said, and then in inverted commas, you would write what Ava said. Or you could have reported speech and you say, we spoke to many people living in the town who said that this was the most amazing thing they'd ever seen. So you don't put there exactly what they said, but you report what they